Hi, my name is Bob Taylor, and I'm your host for this segment of Our Ventura TV. I'm here today with my guest, Sam Gallucci from the Gabriel House. Good afternoon, Sam.
It's good to see you, Bob.
Okay, now, Gabriel House. Please tell me what Gabriel House is.
Gabriel's House is a transitional living and emergency shelter for women and children at risk in our county.
Okay, so you hit two separate things there.
That's right.
Transitional and at risk. So
That's right.
They could be two totally opposite things. So you kind of encompass possible homeless and abused, or how?
Exactly. In fact, you know, I like to call Gabriel's House for our county, it's taking care of our own, widows and orphans, if you were to say. So women and children, there's several categories that we take care of, but they're in our county, women from that might be have domestic violence, abuse, and we work with the police department, and a lot of those women will come and they'll find shelter in our emergency shelter. Women and children that husbands perhaps maybe left them, and they're not able to sustain their own living situation. We bring those women and children into the house, and also women, single moms. Perhaps they came out of a substance abuse program, but they need a season to get their life back online.
Right.
Those women we'll bring into the house. Literally any woman or woman with children that has a need for shelter in our county, Gabriel's House is a resource.
Well, you just hit on something really good. I've heard horror stories about people coming out of substance abuse programs,
Right.
going right back where they started,
That's right.
and being surrounded by the same people, even though they're loving people,
That's
being
right.
surrounded by the same circumstances, and that's what, it's hard for them to do something different or change their habits, being right back where they started.
That's right. And so, Bob, what Gabriel's House is all about, we collaborate with the city of Oxnard. They're a great partner for us, and we have a great relationship with the city. What we do with our emergency shelter is give everybody a hand up. Everyone that comes into shelter. In fact, let me say this, we're only one of 2 emergency shelters in the county for women and children.
Oh, no kidding. What's
So,
the other one?
The other one is the Rescue Mission Alliance has a program.
Okay.
And we have a program that's faith-based. We're one of 2 that are a faith-based organization. So we really work with these women. And every single woman or woman with child that comes into the shelter is introduced to a case manager. Their situation is assessed. And we really work to help them take another step. So what's unusual, what's unique about Gabriel's House is that we're always working to progress them to sustainable, stable environment, not just to give them a roof over their head.
Right.
And that's what's different about our program. A lot of programs, you know, they have cot programs where they can just come in and sleep and they leave in the morning. Ours is more holistic, and it's really designed to help these women and the children that need help get back on their feet.
So they pretty much just become part of your family
That's right.
until they're ready to move on. Now, so each one goes to a caseworker. As soon as you
Yes.
can assess their needs, because I imagine some people come in big panic times at night, or
Right, exactly.
that kind of thing.
Different situations.
Now, let me backtrack a little bit. You know, it's one thing to be homeless and need something. It's another thing to be abused. And quite often, in an abuse case, you don't look at money. You just want to get away.
Yeah,
and so,
that's so true.
Anybody can come to you, if they're really being abused, they can run to you right away,
absolutely.
at least for the night or something.
Well, that's right, and our limitation is just literally the number of beds.
Right.
So as long as we have room and their situation is such that they have a genuine need for shelter, if we can accommodate them, we really will try to. The dynamics of women in need, you know, and women with children, it's a broad spectrum. And you'd be surprised at the need we have in our own county. So for instance, one of the needs is for aged out foster youth, young women, men and women. In fact, right now there's over 200 teenage men and women on the streets in our county. They age out of foster care. And when they age out, federal funding stops. And 80% of foster care, this is a national statistic, when the funding stops, they're kicked out. So imagine an 18-year-old boy or girl now on their own. And within a very short period of time, the women have been trafficked, abused, taken advantage of. The boys end up in gangs, on drugs. And there needs to be places for these teenagers to continue their development into adulthood. Gabriel's House now has a wing for those young women. And that's a really big need that we have. In fact, we have the only situation where a young woman who ends up homeless as a teenager, we have a place for them, or as soon as they're kicked out of a foster care, we now have we work with other agencies, we can have them come right into our home, and we can help them with education.
Kind of a seamless thing for them.
That's right. So that's a population. Domestic violence cases we help with, as well as just women that lose everything, and they're just in a tight situation and they need shelter for a season until they can find another job or what have you.
No, I like the way you put that, for a season. Now, quite often transitional living, especially when you're coming out as an 18-year-old out of foster care,
right.
Transitional living could be 6 or 8 months while you try to get them into the right place or into the right job, especially when they got kids. Because it's one thing to get a job making minimum wage with 2 kids, paying a babysitter half of it.
Right.
It's another thing to get them something where they can sustain something on themselves.
That's so true, Bob. And the thing that's really powerful about Gabriel's House is we have a shelter and a transitional living program. So the ladies come into the shelter. It's a home. It's a big ranch home with a couple of acres around it in the middle of strawberry fields, and it's a very safe environment. It's very peaceful, and they feel immediately they receive hope because they're in a home environment. Right. And in the shelter, we help get them stable, and some of the women need a longer stay, and we can move them right into transitional living.
Right.
Now, one of the things that's beautiful about Gabriel's House is we collaborate and partner with churches. And churches come on board, and they basically adopt that family into their community.
Okay, so you get a lot of help from transitional with a particular church or a particular church group.
Church group, right. Because churches are best practice for community. Churches, there's no better institution in any community than a church body, which provides community.
Right.
At its essence, it's a family. It's called a church family.
Right.
And when a woman and child gets to a place where they're at risk of being homeless, the family infrastructure has disintegrated. They don't have a family around them, and so that's their issue. That's why they're at risk at homelessness, and they really need that to sustainability. So Gabriel's House provides that added sustainability by a church adopting them into their community and just loving on them and being a family that they desperately need.
But not all, doesn't sound like all women that come into Gabriel's House actually needs transitional living.
Correct.
It could be an abuse situation.
That's
they just got to get it straight with the family.
With the family.
Or back to somebody or something like that.
Yeah, and so Gabriel's House has both. The transitional living, which could be a year or longer, as well as...
I was afraid to ask about that kind of thing. But you guys notice that when somebody comes in, you quite often know this is going to be a long-term...
Correct. Right. Every single lady that comes in, we do an assessment of their life, and we do a life plan. And the life plan is uniquely tailored to their unique situation. Some of these young ladies have not graduated high school. They need to get their GEDs. We assist with that. Some of them need vocational training. We are actually the only center which allows and supports going to Oxnard or Ventura College, and we'll actually support that.
What a great deal.
And one of the big things we need is continued funding for education. That's one of the big areas we need, and we're always looking for donors that will fund Gabriel's House, our education fund, because a woman with a child, when they come to us, that takes a lot of courage. But they're not going to be able to support a family working at a McDonald's or something like that. No. Just not making enough wage.
Nothing against McDonald's.
Nothing against that, but that, when you have a family, you need a higher wage.
And you need full-time employment.
Full-time employment, and that requires vocational training.
And dollars to make sure your child is taken care of.
Exactly. And a lot of these ladies are in the fast food industry. That's the only kind of job they can get because they don't have the training. And God bless those organizations that give them employment, but they can't rent a place. I mean, think about rents out here in Ventura County. So we will actually allow them to be in our center free of charge, and but in exchange, in the life plan, if they need vocational training, they will commit to going to college, and we'll fund that for them to the extent we have the dollars to do that.
So as long as they're willing to work with you and do the things in the plan, you'll do everything you possibly can to help them.
That's right.
And I'm sure quite often, even in transition, they have little mental steps back and those
Right,
kind of
right.
things that you guys got to work with.
And this is where we need the community. And the Gabriel's House is part of the Kingdom Center Ministries, and we've done a lot of work, and we're launching Kingdom Centers in other communities, but it's a community-based program. So we're constantly looking for volunteers. We have counselors that come in. We have beauticians that come in for these ladies.
Oh, that's
All
great.
kinds of stuff, you know. Groups that do various kinds of groups to help them cope and help them, encourage them. We're looking for big brothers and big sisters, that kind of a program, because a lot of these women, these kids, don't have fathers in their lives.
Right.
And these young boys and young girls need coaches, need sisters
So
and brothers.
do you guys try to set that up yourselves, or do you work with big brothers, big sisters?
Well, we work with several organizations.
Okay.
We do the best we can with what we have. We try to set those up ourselves when we don't have
That way you
an
can
agency.
monitor.
We can monitor that when
Right.
they're in our program. But we work with any of those agencies that we're willing to work with. And more importantly, we just need people to come that have a heart
Hey,
for coming alongside these men and women to take care of our own in our county.
Believe it or not, we're down to a couple minutes. And there's a couple questions I got to get in, and then we'll leave it up to you. Volunteers. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
need a whole bunch of volunteers.
Yeah. Literally, over the course of a month, it's literally hundreds of volunteers that, we'll give an hour here and an hour there, but we really need those. We need women, particularly, that can be grandmas and surrogate mothers, just encouragers, friends
Family
to these
people.
women, family people
Right.
that have family that come alongside. We are always looking for additional churches to sponsor a bed. We just opened this dorm for these teenage girls that age out of foster care that are at risk of homelessness, and we need support for each of them. They are a special population, and the care is unique for a
Right.
teenager than it is for an adult woman.
Right.
And the expenses are far greater, but the rewards are far greater to help these young ladies.
Yes, when you can see somebody not just transition in the living, but transition in their life.
In their life.
To be somebody.
Exactly.
I mean, I get goosebumps just talking about it.
Yes.
Okay, now, if somebody wants to get involved, help, either volunteer or donate or that kind of thing, how do they find you, Sam?
They find us on the website, gabriels-house.org.
Okay.
And if you go
Gabriel's
to
with an S.
gabrielshouse.org, gabriels-house.org.
Okay.
And go to our website, and you'll find all the information. You can also type in the Kingdom Centers.
Okay.
You can also type in tkcoxnard.org.
Okay.
So we have several access points. And come to our website. There's an ability to actually apply to help us. You can download our app on the phone, Gabriel's House, on a Apple kind of phone or a Android kind of phone, and there's an app that tells you all about our ministry and ways to get involved and to give. We always need.
Okay,
partners.
bad question. How often do you have to turn somebody away?
You know what, that's one of the things that's always grieves us frequently. The need is far greater than the capacity we have.
Right.
And we have an annual fundraiser in October, and we'd love you to come check it out. And it's our garden party, and at our garden party, we're always looking to raise money for a fund. We have the opportunity to add another 40 beds on the property with the city of Oxnard, and we're raising funds to do that. If we had an additional 40 beds, we could handle the volume. But that's about the number we're turning away on a regular basis. Just not enough capacity in the county
Right.
to help these women and children.
Well, we've run out of time, Sam. I really want to thank you for being here with us and talking to us about
Thank you.
Gabriel's House. Well, my name is Bob Taylor. I've been your host for this segment of Our Ventura TV. I've been here today with my guest, Sam Gallucci from Gabriel's House. Until next time, thank you very much.